Welcome to Coin Flip. I'm your host, Anita Baker of Definitive Ideas, and we're here at Accents Bookstore today with Miss Anita Baker, who will be bringing to light her artist and poetry work.
Greetings.
So, first of all, I just wanted to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself, as it's always good when we get a chance to speak for ourselves to the audience.
So my name's Anita Baker. I have been writing for maybe all my life in a sense, but strictly since maybe 2010, I have been, focused on it and continuously doing it. So I don't really literally label myself a poet. Okay. I'm just an artisan of words, if I may. But because I don't follow any particular style, there's rules and regulations that you may have to follow. For me, my poetry come off as reasoning. I read, and I write things that I would want to share.
Okay. So you mentioned you started in 2010. Is that 2010? Sorry, is that when you first began your artwork?
Yeah, like getting out there and actually reciting the poems. But I was writing well before that. So I have a few things. It's just that I just started to share them with people in essence. Yeah.
And what was the build up to 2010? Did you start just as 2010, or was it a build up to you performing publicly?
It was a build up to me performing publicly. I would write and I guess writing was kind of sort of a therapy thing. Okay. And I have my book, I write my poems, and I would keep them there because at that time I wasn't thinking anything much of it. I just thought, okay, I have these thoughts, I put them down. But gradually I started to share, and the feedback that I got is like, oh, you need to get out there and share this with people. So 2010 I kind of started to,
And are you happy you made that jump?
I am happy that I did that, just to see how it's received. Okay. It's very interesting. You think, you write 1, 2 sentences, you put them together. Who wants to hear? Who cares? But when other people receive it and they're telling you that this is a powerful thing, then it just gives you that edge to keep on going and doing it. So.
Okay. So earlier on, you described yourself as an artisan with words, right? Could we hear one of your pieces?
Okay. It's a bit long, but I'm just gonna go ahead and put it out there. I wrote this. I'm just gonna give you a little bit of background on this poem. I wrote this one because coming up in this society as a young black girl and not understanding a lot of things that have been happening systematically, when I started to read, I started to better put a lot of things into perspective, and I basically dedicated it to my grandmother and my mother because they are very religious, and getting behind the walls of religion, so to speak, and to understand where it's coming from and all these things. I don't know, this is what I had to say to them from that. So this one is called Black Woman. Black Woman. My role models, my heroes, the ones that sitteth upon my pedestal, closest in relation to Mother Earth, the one whom she favored during creation to embark on a mission and carry out her work from generation to generation, to give life and love to all nations, who then weaned themselves from the warm, savory sweetness of her milk to subdue corruption, the ones who first held all in her bosom, and with him and her abiding equally, established an institution for all knowledge. Valid and factual is this truth before all universities, all scholars, and all college. The hierarchy of expectations now set in place to determine one's intelligence lived her. Earth Mother, spiritual woman, the voodoo queen, the one who first discovered the introspection into the mystery before white gods made her evil and turned her into black magic and the stigma for Satan worship. Pure woman, real woman, the definition of nature to the most positive degree. And as the words were flowing under my pen and tears were streaming down my cheeks, I had wondered if she would realize and recognize that it is to her who I refer. Woman, black woman, descendants of the goddesses that have been reduced to symbols of naught, tricked into submission by religion for superiority and the fueling of an ego. When they speak of oppression, she is the foremost definition. She that has allowed herself to believe that she is weak, that her lips have been sewed together and she can no longer speak. She that has been trapped in fear, and for that same fear I've come to an understanding that such is just an acronym which denotes false evidence appearing real. Become who you are, descendants of Nani. Become who you are, descendants of Shiva. Legislate, educate, advocate, discipline, lead women, black women, and all will follow. Our awakening is needed in the shifting of the cycles into a new consciousness for a better tomorrow. Black women before me, become who we were, so that I can then become you and pass it on to her. Blessings.
That's really very deep and heavy. Was that written based on your own experiences, or someone that you know?
Based on my experiences, based on the experience of my mother, my grandmother, and so on and so forth.
Right, so a lot of artists have this. Would you label that as your signature piece, or do you have a particular poem that you feel identifies you as an artist?
As an artist, is it weird to say that they all do?
A lot of them do, yeah.
I think they all do, because when I do decide to write, I don't just write out of thin air.
Okay.
You know, like everybody has, some people have the gift, they could just write. If I have this thing where people would call me and say, oh, write this thing for me because, I know you're good, whatever, and then I can whip something up. Yeah. But for me, I don't attach much meaning to it because, you said do it, so I just did it. Right. But in terms of the piece, that all my pieces are special to me, they're all sacred to me, and when I do write, it's coming from somewhere, it's coming from an experience, so.
Okay. Beyond, obviously, your mother and grandmother, is there any particular artist or entertainer that you look up to or would use as a motivator?
As a motivator?
Yes.
I pretty much stick to reggae.
Okay.
Roots rock.
Yes.
So I listen to a lot of Peter Tosh, Bob Marley, Garnet Silk, that type of stuff. So I wouldn't really say I have a favorite artist. And even though I live in reggae where I can name these people, I still listen to a wide variety of music. So I draw inspiration from whence it comes. Doesn't matter.
With obviously reggae being a big influence in your artwork, is there any particular poem or piece you have that's musical, sounds musical, or follows a certain rhythm?
Yeah.
And what would that be?
It's called, I didn't even really label this one. I just say we don't need, because that's what the chorus says. So I just said that's what it is.
Would you mind sharing it?
Okay. Okay. So we don't need. Here we go. I'm kind of hoarse, so don't watch the voice, okay? Them say we don't need freedom from mental slavery. Them not need no educated melanite babies. Them proceed to have us locked up in cages, working for pension and wages. Can't you see construction of the system? A tendency to act like they are your best friends. Hypocrisy looks for the root of the hypocrisy look for the root of the tricks. Them set them with you, but them pretend. Well, giving up is never an option, and if the volume low, just turn on your caption. The unity of my people is my intention. Me tired of talk, me want to see some action. Entirely we are one people. Tribal war make one mind feeble. Pan a holistic level, dash where the evil. Oneness, get willing, get able. It's a shame you don't see the heights of your potential, but if you do some research, I guarantee you're full of outstanding credential. What make it worse, you don't find your knowledge essential. Arm your thoughts, for this war has been mental. Separation stirred up my indignation, a cry for togetherness, mental repatriation. We need a higher consciousness. Remember that we are the great ones and depart the synagogues of Satan. How many more lives will they have to remove for us to see that we need to improve? Intruders will always intrude. Come tell me about to be saved, I need to be washed in the blood of the Lamb. And at them same one, put the gun in at the youths them and then limit the resource so your knowledge can't expand. Because of this nation, them only plan is complete annihilation. Them say we don't need freedom from mental slavery. Them not need no educated Melanite babies. Them proceed to have us locked up in cages working for pension and wages. Can't you see construction of the system? A tendency to act like they are your best friends. Hypocrisy, look for the root of the tricks them. Say them with you but them pretend. Blessings.
That was very deep, very, very deep. So, judging by the two poems we heard, a lot of your work seems to be based around empowerment and obviously conscious movement. Are you in any other way involved in the community, or are you using your poetry to engage the community?
I use my poetry to engage the community, and I am involved through Accents Bookstore. We're actually just launching a children program. It's going to be every Saturday at this location and on Eglinton West by Treasure Isle Studios. So this program is just to get our youth reading. So we want to expand on it, do the book club. Currently we're just doing storytelling and having them do some activities, but later on incorporating other things in it when we get a bigger audience.
Okay, well, that's definitely a positive step. You're obviously involved in this personally?
Yes, I will be the organizer and also the coordinator.
In terms of then your artwork, because obviously you have a lot of things going on, have you already produced a book, or are you on the way to do
I am
that?
on the way.
Okay.
It's coming, so look out.
Right. Okay, has that been a challenge for you so far?
The only challenge is time to get it done. Besides that, I wouldn't say anything else hinders me from doing it. So it's just prioritizing the time better and then getting it done.
Definitely. Yeah. It's always good to have things arranged and working the way you want. You had mentioned that you draw inspiration from everywhere, and you're not limited to being one particular type of artist or theme. However, in your work, is there any one particular poem you found kind of breaks away from your usual pattern, or?
Yes.
Like outside of your comfort zone, I guess.
Yes.
Okay.
I wrote this based on a previous relationship and some stuff that had happened, and I was listening to Stephen Marley. It's called "You're Gonna Leave." I'm not sure if you're aware of the song.
Please say.
But it basically is talking about a male being a womanizer, so to speak. So that came from that, and in listening to the song and thinking about the experiences, I decided that I'm just gonna put it in words instead of suppressing the thoughts. So I'll share with you guys. If I break her pause, don't penalize me for it. I've never done this piece publicly, never. So but I know
like
it.
A world premiere.
yeah, world premiere. So it's called what did I just say? Deception? Okay. I now stare in the face of deception, and from this deceit I have no protection. I had hoped by loving him his heart would seek correction, too deep in love to pay attention, or I would have acknowledged that it was only I that had a connection, and that he was in a different dimension. Trapped in a state of infatuation was retribution for losing my light and worth to someone not worthy of me, my affection. I needed guidance through this affliction, for this man had become my addiction. Like poison, he took to my body and I was dead. Then came my revelation, a well-needed intervention, the determination to embark on a new mission.
So thank you for sharing that piece. Obviously there was a lot of emotion in it. Judging from that point, it's your own experiences that you put into that poem. Have you felt as a black woman, besides obviously having to face stereotypes, you've been in situations where the stereotypes become real, obviously dealing with other women, other men as well. Has that happened a lot, or?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, definitely. Stereotypes I don't think that certain things we can really get away from,
right.
because then the media plays a role and the ignorance of the people.
Okay.
People don't seek to know things for themselves. They basically go along with what they're told.
Okay.
You have this thing of how a black woman is supposed to be. Everyone has an idea.
Yeah.
You have to be loud. You have to be obnoxious, and your hair has to be intended and colored. And, the stereotype that I get a lot associated with consciousness is the Rasta thing.
Okay.
That only Rastafarians are conscious. And everything else outside of that are extremists and radical and this and that. Because I wear a Marcus Garvey in my jacket, and so people would approach me from that perspective. Or if they hear me speak, then it has to be associated with Rastafari. So that's the stereotype that I have to deal with constantly.
Okay. So obviously being a conscious person and educated, what do you think your role as an artist is? Is it to educate, to entertain? How do you mix the two, or which should take the first priority?
First priority should be to educate.
Okay.
At least, well, that's how I look at it. But I think there's a balance.
Okay.
There should be a balance. I think people receive it better when it comes from education comes from the perspective of entertainment, rather than it just being you have to know this and if you don't know this, So I say a perfect balance between the two.
Okay. Obviously, with Toronto, have a lot of artists within the black community as well as other communities. With the artists you've encountered, has that been the case that they've held themselves up to that standard, or even in like mainstream artists who do it commercially?
Commercial, I don't. Dealing with commercial mainstream artists, I cannot think of any that I could say they are playing that role where they're genuinely educating the youths for their betterment and development. I don't see that. Maybe there is some out there, but I just have not seen mainstream.
So if you were to be in that position, so you make commercially, you're on the main stage, and you want to break that mold, what's the first either poem or song you put out there that would set you on that agenda that you're speaking to?
So I'm trying to establish what type of artist I would want to be. So what poem? Black Woman.
Okay.
I don't know that one it's so personal.
Okay.
And I feel like my target in essence the children, but also my sisters.
Okay.
And so that's where I would want to come from. I am more focused on the woman. Not to say just the woman, but that would be my target market first and foremost. And I just want them to know that we're in it together and we all feel these things, but we can be honest about it. So I think if we create that space where you're being open and honest, then you would reach an audience like that where people can come and say, yeah, I go through the same things, I'm experiencing this and that, and we can deal with it together. So.
Okay, that's a very interesting point. So obviously as a black woman and as an artist, have you found that having a sense of unity or camaraderie togetherness with other black women has been an issue?
No. I have not found that. In the spaces that I have been in, they have been. Even when I do, I remember I went a couple months, I went to Love Gun Sundays, I think, and I did this poem, and it was in regards to our hair.
Okay.
And, it just talked about the fact that we shouldn't be permanent here or try to alter its natural state and stuff like that. And I was kind of iffy going on stage to do it because everybody that was in the audience had perm hair, and I didn't want them to think that I was attacking them. But it was amazing because after I was done, they all came and they hugged me, and oh my gosh, I'm sitting there, and even though my hair is perm, like I see it, I see where you're coming from, and it's true, and so again, it's just being honest with ourselves and the things that we go through, and once people can relate to that, then
But the thing that is good about what you did is sometimes you do have to attack people's insecurities to shake them out of the stopper, because if you play cookie cutter too much and you never break out that box. So that's definitely a good thing. Is there any other particular poem that you'd want to share today?
Sure. This one I've never shared either. It's one of the similar to what I just did. It's kind of more reggae, dubbish kind of style. I named it Actually Factually. I was playing around with words one day and it came together. So here we go. Actually Factually. Actually, factually, we deal with things realistically. We question your ideologies and analyze your philosophies. Actually, factually, the days them done when you could have fooled me. I've tapped into self-mastery and only deal with the highest energies. Mislead the youths, mistreat the youths. Babylon, you do it constantly. Provoke the youths who don't know the truth. Your consequences will be deadly. Africa, arm yourselves for battle, for the ancestors have been summoned. Babylon get trampled on when we have beat the drum. Rule the elements, no need knife or gun, so. Actually, factually, we deal with things realistically. We question your ideologies and analyze your philosophies. Actually, factually, the days them done when you could have fooled me. I've tapped into self-mastery and only deal with the highest energies. Actually, are the facts them me deal with. Belief have to step aside, I reveal it. Real eyes, realize, realize. I know in death I will transform, but no mansion in the skies. You bring me war with religion, me resist it. You bring me death with precision, I dismissed it. And now it's back to the facts, fear is weak, truth is meek. You won't deter me from this knowledge that I seek. So, actually, factually, we deal with things realistically. We question your ideologies and analyze your philosophies. Blessings. So that's that. Again, don't watch the singing. It can be better, but I'm a bit hoarse.
No worries, no worries. So I gotta put this out there because obviously you're very conscious. You do the singing and mix with poetry as well. Have you ever been compared to Lauryn Hill or any other artists?
I mean around friends, they'll say, oh, you sound like this person, you sound like that person, but me, I don't put like, no. Like, I think that they're so, you know.
Out there or?
Yeah, they're way out of my league. But I appreciate and I love my talent and I bring what I bring to the table and I look at it as we all inspire each other rather than, you know, compare. It's just, you know, we can draw something with a she and, you know, if I can capitalize on that, then I do that, but I don't look for the better. I just look for how can we, you know?
Okay. So definitely obviously engage the community with the book readings that you're going to be, for children you're going to be setting up. Where can we see you though next as an artist on your own?
On my own.
Yeah.
As I said, I'm looking to get into the poetry, the books. And also, another step that I want to take is to actually record some stuff. So just keep a lookout. You can find me on Facebook for now, Balance Undefined. And I haven't really gotten much into the other social networking, the Twitter and stuff like that. I probably won't ever get there because I just don't have the time. But Facebook is always good. I'm there. So little open mics here and there. Anything with a boo, I'm probably going to be doing. So I'm forever with accents. So.
One more last question, I guess, before we turn to the audience for questions. Social media, so do you find, obviously not making much use of it, do you find it's beneficial or it's more to a non-factor?
I don't think I could label it as a non-factor.
Okay.
Because it's very useful.
Yeah.
But for me personally, there's certain things that I cannot get into. I just don't have the time, you know, to be on it like that. You know, the Instagram, the Twitter, the this, all these things. But I guess if you're marketing yourself, then it becomes necessary because you need to get out there. You need people to see that, you know. Right. But yeah, so I would not say it's an impact. I would say it's necessary.
Definitely. Does anyone in the audience have any questions?
Yeah. We have many questions. I want to hear a poem that I really like from you. This is a poem. It's an old poem. I remember you say you were in the school, primary school.
Oh, okay. I did that poem.
I like this poem.
Okay.
That is good for
you want that
TV
one?
show. Yeah.
Okay. So there is a request. This is not an original. This is actually the first poem that I ever did ever.
Okay. So way back.
Yeah, way back. Grade 5.
Wow.
And I still remember it. It's called Ties, and it's written by my poetry teacher at the time. Her name is Ruth Wardy. So we're going back into patois mode. Full on.
Okay.
I go down at the embassy for the first time in my life to get a visa to enter America. But them turn me down, say me not have enough ties. Poor me, never know to get a visa. You have to have ties and can't tell lie. Me write song and a me write poem, but me not know if make up story. I would be a profession panny. Nothing no bun me. Like when the counselor looked at me and said, I'm sorry, but I can't give you a visa. You ain't got enough ties to enter America. And what am I do with so much ties? Uncle the Lord know. If me did know, me not would have find some of my old grandpa ties where him dead left out of 3 miles. Them what tell lie. No ask if them no get by. All time people used to say that manners carry you through the world. But in a them your modern days, yeah, forget a visa. You have to have enough ties with your mouth full of lie. Forget by. Aye.
I love this one.
That is the art of Jamaica.
I actually do have then one more question just based on that. So, artists are supposed to be groundbreaking, break barriers, right? In the U.S., when they deal with artists, whether it's singing or spoken word, coming from another language or another background, they always do something that's called a crossing route. Now, doing poetry in patois, do you find that that's hindered you broadening your audience, or it's actually helped?
The patois, at first I held back on doing it because I actually thought that it would hinder, given that, but the reception I got was the complete opposite. Like, it broadened, and I had a lot of people saying that you need to do more poems that are patois. I get a lot of good feedback when it comes down to that, because they're like, that's an element that's missing, and we have a lot of the spoken word already. So if you can add that missing element where you bring just the Jamaican roots, patois, that's a good thing. So I have gotten good reception, better reception from the patois than the spoken.
Okay, and that's definitely something I've heard from a lot of artists, because then you bring cultural representation into it, and a lot of people want to hear cultural authenticity, because that adds to your identity. So just see if there's any other questions.
I do have a question.
Yes.
I have a question. Yeah. As you're a poet artist right now, do you look to branch out into other forms of art, basically?
Music
or
music for now. That's the only other music, and whether it's playing instruments or singing, I'm looking into that. Well, that's the next step that I would take. Should I take one? I like to be educated about things before I jump into it. So if I'm supposed to say another area of art, maybe something that interests me, and then I learn about it, and then get involved.
So we're expecting a CD from you?
Of course.
All right.
So just keep on the lookout. Again, Balance Undefined. You can find me on Facebook for now. As I broaden, then yes, I will definitely have that information.
Well, thanks so much more for coming. We're happy to have you on the show, and hopefully we'll see you again in the near future. Coin flip. Thanks for watching.